Welcome to Page to Screen, the podcast where Nikki and Christina discuss books that were turned into movies and films that were adapted from books. As always, we remind you that spoilers do lay ahead. Now, we invite you to decide with us the age-old question. Which is better, the book or the movie?
Hello, everybody. We are back today to discuss Fight Club.
First rule.
Ah, dang it.
And second, you broke both.
2 rules right out the gate. Well, Nikki, how are you doing?
I'm Jack's unwavering paranoia. How about you, Christina?
I am Jack's constant anxiety. All right, well, let's get into it. So we are doing the 1996 novel by Chuck Palahniuk. Hopefully that's the right way you say that, but I tried to do my research as best as I could.
I think it sounded good. I mean, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah. So the plot of this book, it follows an unnamed man who is unhappy with his regular white-collar American life, and he also suffers from insomnia. He ends up befriending a stranger by the name of Tyler Durden. The two begin an underground fight club as a form of therapy for men. Then shit gets real crazy real fast.
Oh, yeah.
This is now the 3rd book, I think in a row, right? No, almost in a row. 3rd book that is a type of a transgressive fiction where the characters in the books don't want to be confined within society.
Yeah.
I actually kind of find it a little unique that you and I both gravitated to these 3 so early on.
It is, and especially because there's such upon your first, reading, there is definitely a larger overtone of sort of, toxic masculinity.
Oh, yeah. Every page.
Yeah. It's just, and it's the same with American Psycho. It's like, I wonder what's going on in the world that would make us want to read about that.
I don't know. It's really strange, to be honest.
It's so bizarre. If only there were a man around to tell me what to think.
This book is an answer to American Psycho and to the lifestyles lived within it. There's an angst against wealth and consumerism.
Yeah, this definitely came out at the right time. When I think about what was going on in 1996, I mean, we were both really young, but you have to remember we were just started getting back into it was that grunge phase.
Right.
And we haven't reached full pop potential, so it's we were definitely angry about a lot of things in the 90s. Early 90s, everyone was mad.
Well, Palahniuk actually has said that he was deeply inspired by Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral and listened to it constantly while writing this book. I don't know what kind of mental state you would be in because I don't know if you know this, Nicole. I am a really huge Nine Inch Nails fan.
No, really?
Yeah.
Never.
I thought that was really neat because you can hear it, or I guess you can read it on the pages. A lot of those themes are echoed again here.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's very... He gets his angst on, for lack of a better... He's getting angsty with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if your book had... my version of the book had the afterword that he wrote.
My book has a foreword, not an afterword, but I wonder if it's the same thing.
Oh, dang. Okay.
That's interesting.
Ooh, spooky ooky. But in the afterword, he says that what he was really trying to write was just The Great Gatsby, but updated a little.
It's got to be the same. It's got to be the same thing because he says that in this one too.
And it wasn't until I read that in the afterword that I was like, oh, you know what? I could definitely see it overlapping over a lot of the stuff that happens in the book.
And again, kind of weird because we had The Great Gatsby revelation in Party Monster. These two definitely share some themes.
Yeah, definitely. It is, now that you mention it, it's so weird that the last 3 books all seem So they all fall in the same category, and I feel like if given the opportunity, they would follow each other.
Right.
Like right into one long path. Like if Patrick Bateman could jump off the page in one book and move into the other two, he would fit in so easy that I wouldn't even notice.
This is Patrick Bateman born in the next decade and split into multiple people.
Yeah, that's that what am I trying to say? The twist, I guess, because we've reached the apex where we talk about that thing. You read a lot of books now where it's like they have to have no book is linear anymore, really, when you think about it. Like, it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end that it seems so easy to predict. There's always some sort of wacky twist to really, like, tie everything up and make it seem, like, bigger and more grandiose. And I feel like if I had read this book when it first came out, I feel like maybe this would have been, like, the prototype for that. Right. Sort of like something that you see carried over in, like, Gone Girl, where it's like halfway through the book, there is an immediate, like, stop to everything, and you're like, oh my God, what? And then it all, like, complete downhill slope from the other side. And I think it's done so well in this book.
Yeah, the only thing that I have is that there is you can still enjoy this story without the surprise of the twist.
Yeah.
I do feel a lot of jealousy for people who read this for the first time in 1996. I felt the same way when I read Rosemary's Baby, where I'm just enjoying it so much, but I know what happens, and part of me is so jealous of the first-time reader who read this completely blind going in.
Yeah, I wish I had not seen the movie before I read the book.
Yes, same. I really enjoyed how he sprinkles throughout a lot of different hints.
Yeah.
To me, it felt kind of obvious, but I tried to put myself in the place of not knowing, which is a very difficult muscle in your brain to try and use. But I loved the cigarette burns.
Oh, yeah, the cigarette burns and the Tyler kiss and...
Yes.
And I loved the little reminders where it was like, I could hear myself speaking Tyler's words.
Yes.
And it was like, oh, that is such a good way to do it versus how it's done in the movie.
And, well, we should probably go ahead and say exactly what the twist is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can go ahead. You can be the spoiler.
The unnamed narrator is actually Tyler Durden. I know, drama.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's pretty cool, and I want to ask you something. I want to get right into this because I've been obsessed with this. Do you think Marla is made up too?
You know, I never thought of that, and I don't think she is.
Okay.
I 100% don't think she is because of the way the book ended.
Right. Sure. So
if you had asked me about it for the movie,
yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll get into it in the movie too, but you always knew with this book that it's the toxic masculinity, that it's this, fight between you and your ego and the different parts of your personality that want to be more animalistic and those kinds of urges. But there's a lot of gender stuff in here too that's not just a masculine thing, but a problem with being feminine.
Yes, it's the biggest thing with this book is that apparently men can't get in touch with their emotions.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting in that, mine's the foreword, yours is the afterword.
Yeah.
Which is a weird switch, but okay. In it, he points out that there were plenty of books for women, and he mentions a few, including Ya Sisterhood, but there's nothing like that for men.
Yeah.
And that is something that I have thought about quite a lot The one that I always think about is the fact that people can't handle the idea that Captain America and Bucky are best buds. They have to be gay. And I think it's fine if you see certain relationships and connect to them, but it also goes to show that people can't accept just male friendship. And the fact that Palahniuk not only recognized that, but then writes this book as an answer to it is very interesting.
It is crazy because for me, I feel like men are so easy to make relationships.
I know.
Like, have you ever seen two guys meet for the first time and they're like bonded, and you see two women meet for the first time and it's like, awkward. Okay, history has told me that we have to be against each other until we find one common ground, and then we can become friends. And it's like, until I saw, because he does mention that in the afterword, until I read that, I was really like, oh, I've never realized that there isn't. And I think it's also something that doesn't come into my mind because, sorry, Jesse, men have everything. Men have had social clubs. Men had the right to vote. Men had so much. Now all of a sudden you guys want... Now you're upset that there are all these books for women about trying to be friends. And now you want that too.
Well, I mean, you think about, the problem of the American dream is that you've got this narrator with a good paying job sitting in his apartment surrounded with his furniture like, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
I have everything. And yet there's still a hole inside of me. And then he puts a hole in his face. But that idea that having everything, it's still unhappy. And yeah, it is. It's like consumerism and the masculinity part of it.
Yeah. It's just like money can't buy you love. Like the Beatles said, you can have everything your heart desires. But if you don't have somebody you can feel honest with and be able to talk to, like, if I didn't have you but I had a mansion, would I be happy?
Right.
I mean, right now, no. I mean, if I had the room to roll around, no, honestly, I wouldn't be happy if I didn't have someone I could just talk to.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and the fact that he can't connect to other people, and yet he finds someone who he can connect with, and it's himself.
Yeah. First person you gotta fix is you.
Yeah.
I feel like we should be playing Man in the Mirror.
There's also the part where they talk about how your father is your role model for God.
Oh, I'm so excited to get into this.
And then when he's looking around the Fight Club, and he said that it's a group of men that were raised by women.
Yeah.
And oh boy, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, so that means that all of these men are godless. And then what does that make of the mother? The mothers are, what the heck are they? Chopped liver?
I think it all goes back to, and this is something, the entire book is extremely biblical.
Yeah,
I don't know if you got those overtones, but when you go back and you read the Bible, women aren't as prominent in the stories as the men are. So from the very beginning, we are told that basically that the women are just like extra, except for Mary Magdalene. You know, like none of them ever have a place. So that, I mean, that makes sense. But it is an interesting question, like, if we're supposed to assume that Tyler is kind of like the godlike figure in this, what are we supposed to take away about this, about God? Does God exist? Does he exist in all of us? There's that saying like, oh, you're all made in God's image. So am I Tyler Durden?
Yeah, and the way that the Space Monkeys, they end up having, the Fight Club turns into this group. Oh, yeah. And all the members end up becoming what they call Space Monkeys. And the Space Monkeys then lose their identity. So, yeah, it's like, and they all become the same. So there's the whole point about everybody's a copy of a copy. So, yeah, it's like you're made in God's image. Oh my gosh, this is kind of blowing my mind right now.
Well, I have some more interesting biblical facts for you.
Oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah, I shall feed you. Here's some of my bread. Here's my body. Here's my wine. Now, mind you, some of these facts might not be, I haven't actually read every part of the Bible. I'm just putting that out there.
Oh, yeah, that's perfectly fine with me.
Because you have. Most of my biblical studies comes from the perfect film, Jesus Christ Superstar, starring the amazing Ted Neely. So let me lay down some God facts for you. They're not facts about God, but once you start to think about it, because they do talk about Christianity a lot in the book, where it's like there's a whole scene where he's with the car driver. He's talking, and they do the whole thing where it's like, oh, you see your father is like God's image, blah blah blah. Right. But if you take a deeper dive, because I first noticed it in the lye burning scene.
Yes. Where
Tyler is basically having the unnamed narrator kneel in front of him.
Ah.
And it's like, it's almost like taking communion. It's almost like you are giving yourself up to this new God. And Tyler's constantly saying, if you love me, you'll trust me. Because he says that when they're at the post office for mailing Marla's mother chocolates. Get her fat. And it kind of repeats itself in interesting ways, where Tyler's always like, it's almost like our unnamed narrator is Peter, because Peter denies Jesus 3 times before Jesus is put on the cross. So it's like he's constantly...
I didn't know that one, the Peter thing.
Oh, yeah. Dropping some biblical facts. But yeah, it's actually in the musical Jesus Christ Superstar as well, where he's like, 3 times you'll deny me. That one's... Shout out to my mom. Thanks, Mom. Yeah, so because Tyler has told him, like, he tells him 3 times, don't talk about me to Marla, don't talk about me outside with anybody. If you talk about me, I'll never show back up. It's all these, like weird, like, leader head game things that he plays on him. But when we're talking about the space monkeys who move into the house, who are all part of, like, Project Mayhem, during that time, our unnamed narrator is going around the country, and he's finding out that there are fight clubs all over the world. It's like the spread of Christianity.
Right.
This new religion has infiltrated and spread everywhere. And there's a part in the book. Tyler says, I'm nowhere near hitting the bottom yet, and if I don't fall all the way, I can't be saved. Jesus did it with his crucifixion thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, hitting the nail on the head with that one. But there are other weird religious things, like I actually had to look up this thing. It's from Matthew. It's Matthew 16:24. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. And it's basically what Tyler is saying to everyone who joins the Fight Club and then moves into Project Mayhem.
It is.
You have to get rid of all of your belongings, and the only things you're allowed to have are this, that, and the other thing, and then you can come into my house, and you can be with me and stay with me. And there's also the whole thing with, I'm talking so much about the Bible, it's so weird.
But you kind of have to. When we get into the movie, I'm going to talk a lot about some psychology stuff. This book is layers upon layers upon layers. So if you want to do a deep dive, put your swim trunks on, because it's some deep waters.
I would love for someone who has read the Bible cover to cover to then read Fight Club and pick out all of the individual weird moments that would line up perfectly. Because there's also the whole thing with identity. Because Jesus renamed people. He renamed his disciples. So, like, Simon was renamed to Peter, and Saul was renamed to Paul.
That's a real weird flex.
Yeah, and then basically your identity is taken away from you, and you become something else. And it's not until later that you can have your name. Tyler took away the narrator's name. We don't even know his name. And then it's not until the end of the book that everyone's like, oh, you're Tyler. And then he gets his new name. Although, spoiler alert, there is a sequel to the book.
Yeah.
It's like a graphic novel, I think, but they do name him.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked up there's 2 sequels. There's Fight Club 2, not Flight Club. It's not like a bunch of seagulls and penguins.
Where they fight on a plane?
No, there's Fight Club 2 and yeah, Fight Club 3.
Oh, real original with those titles.
Cool.
Good job. You did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to find out, spoiler alert for those ones, I haven't read them, but I do know the narrator's name is supposedly Sebastian. I guess.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I like not knowing.
I like not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing with this book is just I like being in a sense of what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And that definitely happens every single page and chapter, because even like he'll flip from first person to second person mid paragraph.
It's interesting for him to talk about what Tyler did. Everything's always like what Tyler did versus what he would do.
Well, and he does the weird thing where this is where it feels like it seems very obvious to me that they're the same, where he says, I know this because Tyler knows this.
Yes.
Because you're Tyler.
Yeah. Hi, unnamed man. Guess what? Buckle up.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you finish your God facts?
I think I might have finished all my God facts. I mean, the other thing is like, having your name taken away and given back is almost like a form of rebirth. That's why when you do your confirmation, after your first Holy Communion, you're supposed to have a confirmation, and that's when you take on your saint name.
Oh, that's right. See, I'm not Catholic. I wasn't raised Catholic, but I had friends that were, and I remember a friend of mine going through and flipping through and going, I have to pick a name. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I know what your name is. And I never even, that didn't occur to me reading this, but you're right.
Yeah, I'm a bad Catholic. I have done my first Holy Communion, so in the eyes of God, I'm okay. But then I never did anything else.
What, do you have a, do you have a secret name that I don't know about?
No, I don't have my secret, I don't have a super secret Catholic name that you don't know about. I just have my normal everyday name. But
can you be Sebastian now too?
Yes. Yes, I can.
You should tell people your secret name's Tyler Durden.
My saint name is Saint Tyler Durden.
No, that's a good point. Well, and also when you talk about rebirth, oh yeah, it's not only rebirth, but it's the resurrection where he gets killed and then he wakes up in heaven at the end, but heaven turns out to be a mental ward. Yeah,
and that's one of the big differences between the book and the movie too, is that
huge difference.
You get to see what happens next, and it's just like, and I imagine this would be, I mean, I don't want to offend anyone who is Catholic, but if this is like Jesus dies on the cross, well, he doesn't die on the cross. I mean, he got down off the cross, they put him in a cave. Long story short, we're still waiting for him to come back.
Spoiler alert.
I'm gonna have
We've been waiting for a ding-dong long time.
How to offend a whole bunch of people at once. I am the American Psycho of this podcast. But you have to imagine, because he's in this mental institution, and Marlo's still talking to him and stuff, and trying to get him out. But he still has devout followers who are in there with him. So I imagine it would be kind of like if Jesus were to come back today and see what his quote-unquote devout followers have done. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't he want to stay away as well?
Right.
Like, I would. Bye. No, I'm good. Bye.
It's such a kind of jumping to the end, but it's such a bleak ending too. I knew that I was prepared for the ending to be different than the movie, but Jiminy Christmas, it's pretty bleak.
Oh, yeah, it is not. For some reason, I just had hoped that there was an uptick at the end. Like,
there's no uptick.
It's like when you're writing a cursive A and you just swirl it up.
Yeah.
This did not do that. This was like, oh, no. We're going to keep going. And it goes to the whole theme of hitting rock bottom. He's constantly asking Tyler, when's he going to hit rock bottom? Is this rock bottom? I think he found it. And it's the last page of the book. Like, it's the end. Look at him making us think about all this stuff. Good writer.
I actually, speaking of the writing, this book does not waste time. This is not a book that just takes its time to build certain worlds and kind of paint it with these wide brush strokes. I mean, it's all verbs. It's just action. In every single sentence, something is happening. There's no wasted word.
Oh, yeah. By the time the book was over, I felt like I had been punched. Like, I've never been in a fight, and I was, like, winded. I was like, what is happening? Like, you get, like, emotional whiplash.
Right.
And it was
it's heavy. It's heavy.
Yeah. It's a great read. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I enjoyed it a lot. It's been on my list to read for years because you and I hadn't read it before. We had only watched the movie, right? Yeah. So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit for not having read it earlier. I really enjoyed the read.
Yeah, I would give anything to have a time machine and read this before I watched it.
Same.
I feel like I would have had that guttural reaction of, what?
Yeah.
But I did have that to different scenes in the book versus the movie. To jump ahead just a little bit, there's a lot of, most of what you read in the book ends up in the movie, but one of the things that I found very interesting that is not in the movie is the inclusion of Marla's mother and the fact that the soap that they're making is from her fat. Yes.
What kind of psychological conclusion do you make from that?
Oh, it is. And when you really think about it, because they put so much emphasis on the fact that they are all raised by women.
Right.
And now it's like they're boiling this woman's fat.
Fat.
Like, oh my goodness. I mean, to the film's credit, they do briefly touch upon, like, they tell you what the soap is made out of. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the scenes in the book that I loved versus in the movie, because it makes everything feel so much more personal.
Yeah, and the treatment of Marla in the book is so tragic. She's got more empathy to her, and I don't want to say kindness, but she just kind of has this morality to her that she's softer. She's softer in this.
Yeah, I was going to say she's soft, and also I would even say that book Tyler is a little bit more soft, because the only reason I say that is when she calls to talk to our unnamed narrative. Well, I'm going to call him Sebastian. When she calls to talk to Sebastian, that sounds so
weird.
So weird.
I don't like that.
When she calls to talk to Tyler Durden #1, and he's basically like, I'm going to go to support group instead. And then in the book, they say that she calls back, and Tyler picks up the phone, and he goes over and he calls the police too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, in the book, he has more empathy towards Marla than in the movie, I feel.
I also thought the way that the narrator has been going to these support groups, he's leeching off of these people. He suffers from insomnia, and his doctor says something to him about how it's it's not the It's the symptom.
Yeah.
So he goes to these support groups for all these different cancers and terminal illnesses, and he's pretending to be affected by whatever the group subject matter is. And they all believe him, and he's kind of emotional. He's an emotional vampire. And getting his rocks off there. Then all of a sudden Marla shows up, and she's doing the exact same thing. The way that he gets mad at her for doing exactly what he is doing made me think of slut shaming. Just this idea that this man can get away with doing this thing and no consequences. Then a woman comes up and is doing the exact same thing, and she's not allowed to.
Well, it brings it back to like the idea that Chuck was upset that there were books for women about female friendship, but there wasn't a book for a man.
Right.
Men have everything, and then like our Tyler Durden #1 has all these groups that he's going to, and he's getting all the support that he needs. And she needs the same things, and it's like, no, you can't. It's like, no, women, you can't vote. No, women, you can't have rights to your reproductive organs. That's a man's job. Like,
speaking of, one of my favorite lines, it's so fucked up, is when she says, "I want to have your abortion."
Oh my goodness, yes.
I was like, oh no. No, but it says something about mental health, and both for men and women, that there are these problems that we face, and we can't even identify it for ourselves. And then when we want help or need assistance regarding them, what route do you go down?
Yeah.
And with men, I do think that men have it a little bit harder when it comes to mental health issues, because I think women are a little bit more at ease with expressing themselves.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's speaking as a professional woman, I can say that I feel like women have been conditioned to be more open. To be more open with everything, and men, because especially when you look at the gender roles that are like we see on TV and we see in movies, man of the house, housewife, like the woman deals with a crying baby all day. The woman deals with the emotions. The man doesn't deal with the emotions.
Well, that's a line. Where is I think I wrote it down. There's a line that says it's something like. They don't want emotions in this country, or something like that. Yeah. That's
really it. And the funniest part about it is in the book you realize Marla has every right to be at all of these support groups because she's actually has something.
I know, which again, that is a lot more of a thing where and it's said in a way where she has a lump in her breast and she is dying. Yet they never actually say that she's dying from cancer.
Yeah.
It's kind of vague, but I believe it. I mean, how tragic is that?
Well, and then it's also, they're very vague about when our unnamed narrator / Tyler Durden says the comment about the birthmark on his foot.
Right.
He has a weird purplish a weird purplish birthmark. That's a weird bookmark on his foot. And in that, he said there's a line where he's like, I didn't have the heart to tell Marla that it's now a cancer that's everywhere, or it's now a disease that's everywhere. And I instantly thought of the things I know about AIDS, because at that time in 1996, that would have been the big thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, and then that leads into it too. Do we think that they're both actually suffering from a legitimate disease that gives them every right to be there, or are they both just psychosomatic?
It also ties into, he says about Tyler Durden that he thinks he's been around a long time before we met, which almost feels like it is symbolic of a disease or a cancer, where it's typically there before it ever gets noticed or diagnosed. But then is the cancer that they're experiencing not actually a disease or cancer, but it's just society and that idea of being trapped in consumerism and being unhappy?
There are so many layers. Like, we could spend I feel like I need to go back to college and have a professor explain this to me so I can write a thesis or something.
You could write like 5, look, thesis, Fight Club and religion, thesis, Fight Club and the American life, thesis, Fight Club and gender. I mean, you could keep going.
It is crazy. And honestly, all I can say is I really do wish I had read the book first, like over and over and over again, because there are so many layers that aren't, while the movie is a great representation of the book, it is almost exact. There are some minor details that, don't really, they don't change what really happens, but the book, my God, there's just so much that you can pull from it. Even just little chapters, even just little things they say to each other.
Right.
Like, I don't know. This is totally not slightly off topic, but one of my favorite things is so terrible from the book because I couldn't stop laughing about it.
Yeah.
It's the Marilyn Monroe joke.
Oh.
I felt so terrible. It's awful, I know, but it couldn't stop because I actually read that line on my way back from work. Like, I had a very stressful work week going into Manhattan and out of Manhattan by a boat. Y'all listening, I take a boat to work now.
It's a ferry. You're not in a rowboat. You're like rowing. You're not doing the reverse lorry. You're not rowing yourself to work.
I'm Washington crossing the Delaware. I'm standing at the front of the boat. Land ho! You're
like Rose at the end of Titanic going in to New York.
When you said that, I was like, I'm not laying on a board in the middle of the river. What are you talking about? This is New York. You'll get a disease. I'll get a Tyler Durden doing that.
I do want to say, because I think it's probably time to switch over to the movie, but I did want to mention just a couple things about Palahniuk. So he was actually in, it's not quite as violent, but he was basically in a PG-13 version of Fight Club. He was in this club called the Cacophony Society.
Oh, I did read about this.
Yeah, so they would go and do weird stuff like pranks. They would go and do like weird adventures, parties in the middle of the street. So it's still that kind of rebellious society. And so a lot of what he put in here is from personal experiences, either through that or little things that people told him.
Yeah.
So that was surprising. I didn't know that.
I have one more book thing too.
Oh, sure.
And it has nothing to do with the author. It has nothing to do with the first line of chapter 28. If you want to flip to your book.
Yeah. Flipping. You can go ahead though.
I want to wait. I want your reaction.
Okay.
Because I want you to see what it says before I say it.
Oh my gosh.
So Christina and I have been friends since high school, and we did theater together in high school. And our theater teacher's name our theater teacher's name was Patrick Madden. Shout out to Port St. Lucie High School drama department. Whoop whoop. Any alumni who are listening to this, what's up? Class of 06. So the first line of chapter 28 is, his name was Patrick Madden, and he was the mayor's special envoy on recycling. His name was Patrick Madden, and he was an enemy of Project May. I had to stop reading because I could not stop laughing. I was like, I am done. I was like, put the book away. This is my favorite book.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God.
Patrick Madden, an enemy of Project Mayhem.
You heard it here first, Port St. Lucie High School.
Oh boy,
I'm glad.
That is amazing.
And that's the last thing I have to say about the book.
Well, the only other thing I wanted to say real quick about the author is that he is gay. So the fact that this book is written and it's got such a deep questioning of what it is to be masculine, and the characters have problems with their femininity, but it's written by a gay guy.
And that
is it American Psycho also written by a gay guy?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. And as we pivot to the movie, we have another link to American Psycho.
We do.
And it threw me when I saw it in the credits, and I was like, what? Hey guys, it's Jared Leto.
Once again.
And once again, he gets a crap beat out of him.
Yeah, I in my notes when I was watching the movie, I wrote down Jared Leto question mark.
Oh, see, I wrote the first note that I wrote down was Jared Leto again?
Come on, guys, are we doing Jared Leto again?
I mean, does he just have a face that people want to murder?
I think so. I think you hit the nail on the head. Okay, so the movie was released only a few years after the book came out. It was released in 1999. Mm-hmm. It is directed by David Fincher, and it stars Ed Norton as the narrator, Brad Pitt as Tyler Durden, mm-hmm. and Helena Bonham Carter as Marla.
Yeah, and this is so a David Fincher.
Like it is.
When you read the book, like if you've never seen the movie, sorry we spoiled everything, but it's like all he does are these movies with twists.
May I please take a moment to speak about David Fincher?
Absolutely. Take all the time you need. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I adore David Fincher. He is one of those directors that I know everybody knows him, especially if you're a film person, but I wish that he had the home credit that someone like a Quentin Tarantino or even a Christopher Nolan has.
Yeah.
I feel like he deserves a little bit more credit, but because he makes these movies that make you feel horrible.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of stops him. But he is so good, and his career is so interesting. He was a music video director and did some of the most iconic music videos of all time. And 3 of them he did with Madonna. He did Vogue, Bad Girl, and Oh Father, and those are 3 of my favorite Madonna videos.
Yeah, don't even get me started on Vogue. Oh my god.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast.
Yeah, we could just talk the Vogue podcast. It's all we talk about.
He also this ties back again to Nine Inch Nails. He has a love for Nine Inch Nails. Of course, Trent Reznor won his Oscar for a David Fincher film. And I do want to mention that Trent Reznor right now has the EGOT, and he's one away from having an EGOT. So he just needs the Tony Award to be an EGOT. And they were talking about doing a Nine Inch Nails rock opera of Fight Club.
I would see it.
I would see it 1,000 times.
Listen, I saw the American Psycho musical. There's nothing holding me back, especially now. Yeah. Right now, while Broadway, fun fact, we're recording this during COVID. Broadway's still shut down. I will see anything. You want to dress your cats up as Hamilton? I'll pay $50 for it. Let me see it.
Yeah, the Meowsicle.
Meows. I hate you.
This is so off topic, but I just had to mention it real quick. Do you know David Fincher's next movie, Mank?
No.
Okay, it's about the making. I think it's coming out on Netflix, I want to say soon, like in October. And it's starring Gary Oldman as, what's-his-face, Mankiewicz, and him trying to get credit for the writing of Citizen Kane.
I'm sorry, did you say Mankiewicz, like the guy from Turner Classic Movies?
That's his...
that's his grandfather. Yeah, that guy from Turner Classic Movies has one of the Rosebud sleds. Let me tell you, he's my evil villain. I want to crush him. I want his jaws.
I love Ben Mankiewicz.
I do too, but you know what? I would like to be him. Give me your sled and give me your jaws. Let me pick the movies.
Yeah.
This is a really bad resume and a really bad interview. I'm so sorry. Turner Classic Movies.
Okay, so to get to the movie, right off the bat, when you start watching it, immediately, second one, it has this super high energy. The opening's pretty iconic, and the music. Oh, sorry, one more Nine Inch Nails thing. I really wish that Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did the music for this. I enjoy the soundtrack, but I mean, come on.
I honestly was surprised that they didn't, because we had just finished watching. We've been on a David Fincher sort of situation at our house.
Did you watch Seven with the Nine Inch Nails song?
Yeah. We also watched Gone Girl. We were about to watch The Social Network. We were watching all of it. And I was just like, the music is just so good. Mm-hmm. And then you get to this and you're like, the music's good, but it's like missing some sort of like oomph.
It feels like, I think that he was courting Trent Reznor to do scores, and Trent Reznor had done like Lost Highway and stuff. I feel like Trent Reznor was maybe intimidated by like a full feature film. And this is 1999, so I know that there's also some like drug problems and stuff. And at this point, The Fragile, I think either just came out, so he might have been touring. I don't know. So it could have been. Sorry.
I feel like you're looking in his date book. Like, what are you doing? Hold on, let me call him. I know what he's doing.
No, but I wish I could see the cut of this movie with the Trent Reznor score.
Oh, I would pay good money for that.
Yeah.
Forget your Cat Hamilton.
The opening does kind of make me laugh a little bit, because it's got that late 90s, early 2000s, sort of like the X-Men when they do the CGI.
Oh, yeah.
And it's supposed to be inside of his brain. So it works a little bit better in this movie than it does in, say, X-Men or like Spider-Man. But it's probably the only thing that's like super dated about it.
Yeah, honestly, this movie could fit in anywhere. There's not a lot of movies that you could say that about, where it's sort of like you could watch this at any time and think that it's still almost the same time period, with the exception of the fact that they use payphones.
Yeah.
It's not a thing anymore.
But even the payphone, the way that David Fincher directs, like the payphone has a noir type of vibe to it.
Oh yeah, the angles and the direction, it is visually stunning. Like everything about the movie is so visual that you kind of want to be in the world, even though you already are in the world.
I'm gonna say it. It's a masterpiece. I think it's just so, when you see certain shots, like the shot of Marla with the smoke coming out of her mouth, it drips off the screen.
It is stunning. Like, your first look at her is so. It is so Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Yeah, it's like I wrote this down. I wrote down Manic Pixie Dream Girl, and then I crossed that out, and I wrote down nihilistic David Fincher Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Makes a whole lot more sense.
The way that they did the Marla look, her hair, the outfits. Even I read that she had the makeup artist do her makeup with their non-dominant hand. That way it wouldn't be perfect, because Marla wouldn't be perfect.
Yeah, that's honestly, she really embodied the entire character from the book. I think she's the best representation of the character from the book. And I loved everything she wore. I was like, I'm all about the weird Courtney Love kind of like vibe that she was giving off. Mm-hmm. I was 100% in.
That fuzzy jacket at the end.
Oh my God, yes.
I would wear it.
And I would even wear that wacky bridesmaid's dress.
I know. That's the way that she delivers that, because I was wondering when I read the book if that monologue would be in the book, because it's so perfect and so well performed by her. I thought that can't be in the book. That's got to be a screenwriter thing. Nope.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. Like, I really feel like there's nothing she can't do.
Yeah. Well, Alice in Wonderland is a bit of a question mark.
Oh, what? I don't know her.
I don't know her.
I don't know her.
I do really love Brad Pitt and Ed Norton too.
Yeah. Oh, Brad Pitt is perfect.
He's ultimate Brad Pitt. Like all of the
Yeah.
little Brad Pitt nuances he brings to this, like the way his funny laugh.
Oh my god, yeah. The scene when after he has sex with Marla and he opens the door and he's wearing just that one yellow rubber glove. Kills me. Like if you stop it and you screenshot it, that is peak Pitt. Like that is a peak
Oh.
that is a peak Pitt. Because think about it now, like everything that he did leading up to that moment, and then everything after that moment. Just
This
gonna
is
say that
such a
I'm
weird
madly in
comment
love
to
with Brad Pitt now.
This is so weird, but the sex scene that they have is my favorite sex scene in any movie ever.
Oh, the weird like multiple angles of them that they kind of show over Ed Norton.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a completely CGI scene.
Oh yeah, apparently they use the same camera rig that they used in The Matrix.
Right.
When they do the bullet scene where Keanu leans back, it's the same exact camera rig but for a sex scene instead.
So
and I think it's a better
weird.
use.
That's one thing that David Fincher does that I find very interesting as a director, where a lot of directors will be hardcore, I don't want any CGI in set, or I'm going to use nothing but CGI.
Yeah.
He blends CGI into his movies in a very intelligent way.
It's so smart. It's like when you say directors who don't want to use CGI, are you talking about like Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Maybe. Perhaps.
Make it real. But yeah, it's so seamlessly done that even now the movie is old, the technology has been updated. It doesn't look old.
It doesn't.
It doesn't age. It looks really well.
I do want to comment on, I turned away from this movie for a little bit because this was one of those movies that if I were in a group setting and I was talking mostly to guys who would say this kind of stuff, and I would go, oh yeah, I'm really into movies, and they'd be like, oh yeah, me too. Have you seen Boondock Saints?
Oh my
and they would have like the only DVDs that they would have on their shelves were like Fight Club, Boondock Saints, Pulp Fiction, and Citizen Kane, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, you mean typical guy films?
Right. And
There's the prototype for college guys all have the same 5 movies.
Yeah, and it made me roll my eyes a little bit. So sometimes when I see Fight Club merchandise, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But I love this movie.
Yeah. I love the movie overall, and I think I have the same problem about, when I see like the poster for Fight Club or I see people dressed up like them, I'm like, oh, come on, you couldn't have done something else. Because I feel like a lot of people take it at face value. And to go back to my afterwards, your forwards, he talks about that in his own writing, in his own words. He talks about how that it's a thing where people have seen the movie, but they don't understand what it is that it's really about.
It's the same problem from American Psycho.
Yeah, everyone takes it at face value. Like, and yeah, you see Psycho in the title of a movie, you're not going to want to watch it because you think it's all about murder. You see Fight Club in the name of a movie, you're not going to want to watch it because it looks like a bunch of men just fighting each other. And it's so much more than that.
It is.
And I think that women are really doing themselves a disservice if they're not watching this or reading it, and men are really doing themselves a disservice if they're just watching it at face value.
One of the biggest changes in the movie is the ending.
Yeah. The end is... Do you like the ending in the movie better than in the book?
Yes. I think that the movie concludes all of the different points that Palahniuk was trying to make in the book better. One of the biggest ones, it's not even the fact that, they're holding hands at the end, but the fact that in the book, they only want to blow up one building, and that building's like, what is it, like it's a museum of natural history or something like that.
Yeah, it's something so random.
Yeah,
that you're kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, cool guys.
Yeah, cool flex.
In the movie, they want to blow up all of the different credit union buildings.
Yeah.
That to me ties into the whole issue of it being unhappy and the masculinity and the consumerism so much better.
I agree with that. I like the idea that in the movie they are dismantling a system that is affecting everyone versus dismantling a system that is only affecting one. It ties more into it almost ties back into the that theme from the book about like religion, what, it's for all. Mm-hmm. But I kind of like the book ending better because it ties back into the ideas of what the book was supposed to be. It's a book for men who feel like they don't have that relationship, that they can't bond with other men. Because at the end of the book, Marla gets all of the people from the support group to come.
I that part made me laugh a little bit because I'm just imagining these people in like walkers and canes like running in.
I know, it sounds awful, but at the same time, it's like in the book and in the movie, Ed Norton makes this big thing about how it. Oh God, what does he call them in the movie? Like part-time people, part-time friends, or whatever. Right. And it is, it's people that you don't have to see very often. You see them and they're gone. And what's so great about the ending to the book is that he had that belief system this whole time that he had no one, so he depended on Tyler. And in the end, he realizes he didn't need Tyler because he had people who actually cared about him. Whereas at the end of the movie, it's almost like it's the movie ending. I would say maybe the movie ending and the book ending are they both end so depressingly when you really think about it.
Yeah, the movie ending is definitely a Hollywood movie ending.
Yeah,
and
it's clean.
The book ending is more consistent with the tone.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. That does make sense.
Yeah, it's just there are so many things from the book that I wish could be mashed into the movie, and there's so many bits from the movie that I wish would be bashed into the book. Right. So that I could have one perfect thing to either watch or read, because there's just so much to put into both, so it's understandable that a lot of it got left out.
Yeah, and I was reading about that too, because the movie was written by, I'm sorry, I don't have his name at the moment, but it's written by the guy who, what did he do, like Looper or something? He did like one other movie, and he was talking about him and David Fincher discussing the book, and everything that they cut that was in the book that didn't make it into the movie, they loved. Yeah.
I will say what I really love in the movie, because in the book we're given all these tiny glimpses that Tyler and Tyler, I guess, are the same or similar. And then in the movie, you get these weird moments where, because he talks about it in the book like, oh, Tyler's always been there. In the movie, you get that, but it's in those weird blips of Tyler in random scenes before he actually shows up, which was so genius. It's such a simple way to do it, and it was just like, I saw it, and we were watching it on HBO, and we have to Chromecast it. Long story short, the app does like glitch out sometimes. So the first time it happened, I was like, was that a glitch in the TV or is it in the movie? And then in the book and in the movie, there's a lot of talk about how Tyler is a projectionist, and he would splice porno scenes into family-friendly movies. And the first time it glitched, I thought it was an actual glitch. The second time we rewound it and it glitched, I was like, did they just put a penis in here? Was that a penis?
Yeah, well, that's where David Fincher is such a good companion to the book. The way that the book has just got that layers upon layers upon layers. David Fincher is one of those directors where if you're watching the movie, there is nothing on that screen that he does not know about and he did not very specifically put before you.
Yeah.
The amount of thought that was put to adapting this into the movie, I don't, he's one of the only directors I would point to go, that's the guy who can do that.
Yeah. Anytime I watch one of these movies that we're going to talk about, I'm always like, I wish there was someone who could do it the justice it deserves. And I feel like he's the only one who really, I think he gets it. If he wants to come on and talk to us about his process, I'd be all about it.
Okay, so I do want to go back to a question I had earlier, which is, do you believe Marla exists?
And I will say, in the movie, I think it's questionable.
I don't think she exists.
I don't think, yeah.
I don't think she exists in either the book or the movie. It occurred to me because of the cigarette burns and the fact that she has them too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That question where he asks him the 3 times to not talk about him, I had always thought about Tyler Durden, the narrator, as the whole, this is like the ego playing it up. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Ego's not the only thing. It's id, ego, and super ego.
Yeah.
Which are 3. And when you look at Tyler, Marla, and the narrator, they perfectly fit into that. Of Tyler's the id, she's the super ego, and the narrator is the ego. And it plays in too with the difficulty of accepting the male and the female. If the narrator is the center of the butterfly, Tyler and Marla perfectly fit both the male and female and the super ego and the id.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's like, because Marla's character is just raw emotion.
Right.
And Tyler is completely devoid of that. It is the perfect, yeah. I think it does come across better in the movie, that she might not be 100% there, but definitely talking about it, I could say, yeah, I don't think she was definitely there in the book either.
Well, and there's some interesting stylistic choices with the movie where Norton his costumes are regular. Mm-hmm. He looks like a normal guy. And he's got Tyler on one side wearing, like, I love looking at the clothes. He's wearing, like, crazy shit. And then Marla's over here looking batshit crazy. But, like, at the end, they both have these kind of furry-looking jackets.
Yeah.
And in the very last shot, which is a gorgeous shot, Edward Norton and Helena Bonham Carter are standing side by side. They're holding hands. And I recognize, because Helena Bonham Carter is very short. She's only like 5'2" or something like that.
Yeah.
And Edward Norton's taller. They're standing almost where their heads are even. It's like she's just slightly below him. And their silhouettes are exactly the same because and this is once again like a masculine thing, he has his pants removed. So he's got his pants removed, but he's wearing this like jacket, and his jacket and her jacket equal each other.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
So it's like they're the 2 sides of one another.
Oh my God, they're the yin yang.
Right.
That they talk about throughout the whole movie. That is That is also something that is in the movie that is not represented in the book. Is in the book they talk about consumerism. Mm-hmm. The movie is like they have a whole part where you're literally going through an IKEA catalog.
Which, by the way, okay, everybody wants to make fun of millennials are killing the furniture industry. People had IKEA catalogs before we were buying stuff, so please do buy. Thank you.
Yeah, so go eat your avocado toast. Because you can afford it. We can't. But what I found so interesting about that, especially coming off of doing American Psycho, is it's almost the film version of Fight Club is the exact opposite of the film version of American Psycho. In the book American Psycho, it is constant labels, constant names. And in the book version of Fight Club, they don't name a single thing. Mm-hmm. Then you get to the movie versions of each, and there's no name dropping in American Psycho, and there is so much name dropping about IKEA, and I don't know if you must have looked at the trivia too. Like, you can see a Starbucks cup in every scene of the movie, and it's just like, oh my God. And then I think,
which, by the way, I thought it was really powerful when Game of Thrones made that comment on consumerism.
Yeah. Oh, Game of Thrones. Remember it was good?
Don't get me started.
Shade. But like, there's that, and then you notice it with like even some of the things in like the background, like they have actual movie titles to movies that the stars of the film are in. Like, it's consumerism on high in the movie, which is that yin yang table, man. What'd it do to them? But yeah, to bring it back to the whole, are they all one? Yeah, I can definitely see it. When you think about it that way, 100%. Especially when he put so much emphasis on that stupid table. And then you see it at the end. You see them together standing there. Definitely, they fit.
There's this super long written thing of this guy who wrote about whether or not Marla was real, and Palahniuk actually shared it. He tweeted it, and he just tweeted a link and said, like, have fun, guys, or something like that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So who knows if that's an endorsement or if he's just fucking with people still.
Well, when you bring back in that he's also a gay author, and the entire book is basically about struggling with something that is in your head.
Right.
And now you have these two sides of you that are both struggling for dominance. One uber masculine, one ultra feminine. It's, you can bring that into the conversation too. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We told you to put them swim trunks on, y'all. We're gonna keep going.
Well, let's ask the question at hand. Do you think which is better, the book or the movie?
Oh, God. See, this is the part of the podcast that makes me upset, because I can't. I feel like everyone so far I've been like, I don't know. Actually, that's a lie for Dracula.
Yeah.
I love the movie, but I will say that I think the book is better. Just because there's so much to dig into, and there's so much to rip apart. But they're kind of companions, so I feel like you can't have one without the other.
I know.
They're the yin yang. Boom. Okay, but what about you?
It's hard. I've been going back and forth because I've been thinking about it since I finished the book. I would put this book in a top something list of mine of books that I really enjoy. But I would probably the movie too. So I'm going to go with the movie. I'm going to go with the movie.
Are we the yin yang now?
Yeah,
do you want to be Marla and I'll be Tyler?
Oh, I want to be Marla, please. Well, actually, I don't want to be Marla. I don't want to be Tyler. Want that.
I changed my mind. I don't want to be either of them. I want to be Bob.
You know what? I know we're wrapping this up, but I did want to mention one more thing, and maybe you've got a couple notes left too.
Yeah.
You know the part when they're in the basement and the guy comes out telling them to leave, and then Brad Pitt just lets himself get messed up?
Yeah.
That part when he flips over on top of him and he's like tossing his head back and forth and the blood's coming out. It's so horrific.
Yeah.
It's like a horror movie. I know you didn't watch, I don't think you watched it because of your clown phobia, but
yeah, I will not. Will not.
It reminded me of Pennywise. There's this part where Pennywise kind of, well, I won't describe it to save you.
I'm sure the people who have watched the movie know exactly what you're talking about.
It was really scary.
Yeah. Jesse, you know what? That can be an extra special episode. You and Jesse can do it. You guys can read the book and watch the movie, and I'll go hide for like 800 years. No clowns, please. I do want to hint on a couple more things of the movie. The perfect casting of Meatloaf. Who I thought he was... The character of Bob is so sweet in the book.
Yeah.
He comes across sweet in the movie. And I love the scene when he runs into Bob on the street.
Yeah.
And Bob's like, oh, no, I'm part of a new club now. But the first rule is, I can't tell you about it. Second rule is, I can't tell you about it. It's just so heartwarming. And of course, like, I don't believe in Meatloaf's politics right now. But, oh, man, was that, like, I can't, unlike when we did Dracula and we, like, Dreamcast, I have no problems with anyone who was cast in this movie.
I don't either. I think that for everybody in this movie, that the performances within this film are either their best performance or within the top group of performances.
This was peak. This was definitely peak for everyone. And I mean, 1999 was such a phenomenal year for film in general.
It was.
So for this to be included in that, yeah, this is the apex of perfection, I guess, when it comes to this sort of thing. I kind of want to ask you 2 questions from the movie. If you could fight any celebrity, alive or dead, who would you fight?
Actually, you know what? Maybe Jared Leto.
Shut up, because that was totally my answer, because everything I've seen, apparently he's really easy to beat up. I don't know. Sorry.
No, Jared Leto's one of those guys that, you know, growing up, he was in Fight Club. He's in American Psycho. He's in, what's that? Of course, it's another one. Panic Room.
Yeah.
He's in Requiem for a Dream. All these movies that, for me as a teenager and kind of getting to know movies, not just blockbusters and stuff, like these movies that made you think a little bit more, he was cool. And then to find out that he's got a band too, I mean, he was just a guy that I think everybody thought was super cool. And between hearing some rumors about, you know, his personal life and then the whole Joker thing, it's like, wow, what a dick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Joker's the reason I want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Jared Leto, if you're listening to this, I can't fight. I've never fought.
I've never fought either.
We are two weak women, and we don't really, but if we could, it's you.
It's you. And let me just say this. You know, I mentioned some rumors. I don't know if they're true or not. And I did actually see him perform with Muse only maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. He was great.
Yeah,
performed great.
I bet he's a great person.
Well, I wouldn't bet. I would just say it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible he could be a really good person, but I would still want to fight him.
Yeah, that's so funny. We both picked Jared Leto.
All right, and then the other question. Any historical figure?
Ooh. Historical figure. See, it's like when I get put on the spot, I don't remember anybody. Well, you tell me yours and I'll keep thinking of mine.
I've got a long list of people I hate. Oh my God, maybe I am Tyler.
Well, yeah. I mean, with this, it's like the same thing as American Psycho, where you're like, oh yeah, he's definitely the bad guy.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I kind of agree with what he just said.
Yeah, I'm definitely the bad guy in all of this. Oh man. Gosh darn it. Probably like, I don't know. Maybe I could sucker punch George Washington.
He was tall, wasn't he?
He was like, tall. He's our, you know, he was the first president, but also like, he owned slaves.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, I'm not really into that. I mean, at that point, I might as well fight all of the people who signed the Declaration of Independence.
You know, whenever I think now about George Washington, I just think about that part in the What We Do in the Shadows TV show when they ask Nandor who George Washington is, and he's like, the first gay president. And they're like, he wasn't gay, and he just like looks into the camera.
Maybe John Wilkes Booth, too. Let's throw him in the mix.
Yeah, he was an ass.
I mean, shouldn't we honestly say Hitler?
And I think you could. I think you could get away with it, too.
Listen,
yeah, let's go with Hitler.
We're going to go with Hitler on this one. Christina and I are going to tag team again.
I'm going to punch his mustache off.
We're going to do it. We're doing it for JoJo. We're doing it for Jojo Rabbit.
Aw, JoJo.
Oh. Oh, okay. Well, with that, look out, Jared Leto and Hitler. We're coming for you.
Oh, geez. Now I kind of feel a little bad that Jared Leto's in that category.
I know. I said it and I was like, oh, man.
Oh, no.
But yeah, we thank you guys for joining us as we travel through Fight Club. I mean, the club that shall not be named twice.
Shh, 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 shh.
Hey, you guys.
All right.
You want to join our club?
What will we be talking about next? I can't believe we're doing it.
I can't believe we're doing this again. We have a special holiday treat for everyone this Thanksgiving. We got together with our girl, Louisa May Alcott, and we are bringing you an old-fashioned Thanksgiving.
The bitch is back.
This is... Let me tell you, it is something. And what's great about this is you can actually, if you were to Google the title of this book, once again, An Old-Fashioned Thanksgiving, you will be able to find all the links you need. It is a short story, quick read, and a made-for-TV movie.
Yep.
My bread and butter.
So that's what we decided to do.
Don't know why. But we'll put links in the description of this episode, and we'll probably post it on our Twitter and our Instagram.
Yep.
We're sorry in advance. What? No, we're not. We loved it. Of course we did. It's going to be a fun one, and it's a family-friendly affair for the holidays.
Yeah. So on that, thank you everybody for joining us today. We would like to express our sincerest appreciation to our wonderful producer, Jesse Thompson.
Yeah, my husband. And
Thank you,
Mouse
Jesse.
Wrangler. That'll be funny later, you guys.
Okay, well, thank you, Nikki. This was fun.
Yeah, don't get punched by Jared Leto or Hitler, please.
Okay, I'll try not to.
Okay, and don't forget to use your library card.
And wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask, use your library card, everybody. Best way to hide from Jared Leto.
Alrighty, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.